So I just had the opportunity to sit down and watch Censor, which came out a few months ago, and it was getting a lot of buzz at first when the movie first came out. Some big people were talking about it. However, it seems like a lot of people still haven't seen it, and myself included until just recently. So I want to talk about it and get the word out there.
I've got this feeling that it's Nina, my sister. You know, if someone did take her, then they're still out there.
You've never been clear on exactly what you remember.
You'd be surprised what the human brain can edit out when it can't handle the truth. Someone's losing the plot.
So Censor is directed by Pranal Bailey Bond, and it stars a woman whose job every day is to basically sit there and decide what movies are be able to release to the public as far as the graphic content is considered. So she basically filters out certain graphic content. Movie has a little bit too much, she cuts it out, or she just deems it unwatchable in general, and that's her job. And after watching a certain videotape, it sparks an old thing that happened throughout her life when her sister went missing, and she starts to look for answers. What I really liked about this movie is it doesn't waste any time trying to get down to business, right? It's only 83 minutes long, and that's including credits. It's got a little bit of a slow burn aspect to it, but since it's only 83 minutes long, that slow burn, if you're someone that doesn't really like slow burn movies, you're not really gonna feel that effect in this movie because, you know, whenever a movie's slow burn, it's anywhere from like an hour and 40 to 2 hours, you can feel that. With this movie, 83 minutes long, you don't really feel it. And for me personally, it wasn't too much of a slow burn for me. I just know for individuals out there, if you're one of those people who you're kind of stray away from slow burn movies, there's a little bit of that in it, but since it's only 83 minutes long, it shouldn't worry you too much. Another really great thing about this movie is Neem Alger's performance, who plays our main character in this movie. In a lot of psychological horror movies, you can sometimes see aspects of actors almost over trying in that way to really try to sell the fact that, oh, well, look at where I am now. I mean, I'm so much different now than I was in the beginning of this movie, but she does such a great job like going into that psychological aspect of how she starts off in the movie and how she slowly escalates into like something else. It's never overacted or anything. I mean, this is absolutely terrific, and she's not the only one. I feel like everybody in this movie, as far as acting goes, does a really good job across the board. Oh, another thing I want to talk about was the cinematography. I thought the cinematography was really, really cool in this movie. I thought the way they also shifted aspect ratios in certain parts of this movie to try to make it seem like you were actually watching the television that our main actress is watching, I thought that was really well done. Also, the way the cinematography does like transitions and everything, I thought that was also really cool in this movie. And before I even turned the camera on to really talk about this movie, I was thinking to myself, is there anything negative I can say about this movie? And there really isn't. And I kind of was questioning that before I even started making the video, because I'm thinking to myself, I mean, is it right to really talk about a movie and only have everything you talk about be positive? But I mean, really, I have nothing negative to say about this movie, and that's why I really want to get the word out there about this movie, because it is just so well made, and it had me hooked the entire time. And I feel like most people, especially if you like psychological horror movies, or if you're looking for anything a little bit different in the horror genre, like you will get that with this movie. This isn't some cookie cutter horror movie, and there's really only one jump scare in this movie, and usually I'm not a huge fan of jump scares. I think they're just kind of like a cheap tactic. But this one, I don't hate this one at all, because it's like there's only like one in the movie, and I think it was really well done. And when a movie does a jump scare, and if it's really well done or interwoven in the story, I honestly have to give it props, because there's so many horror movies these days where it's just like, oh, it's someone's hand, and then met with a loud noise, and it's like, oh, it's so cheap. But in this movie, it wasn't cheap or whatever, so I'm not going to knock it for that jump scare. The jump scare actually made me jump quite a bit. And my biggest takeaway coming from this movie, honestly, was just how great Neve Alger's performance was in this movie. She absolutely sold that role of hers. And this is a movie I really wish would have come out a little bit later than what it did, because I feel like where we are now and the pandemic and movie theaters and a lot of other stuff are a little bit more open, I feel like this could have really hit the theaters. And it probably wouldn't have had like a really strong opening weekend or anything, but I feel like the word of mouth would have been so good from everybody that has seen the movie that its second weekend, its third weekend, and so on and so forth, it would have made more money those weekends than it would have made in its opening weekend, and a lot of more people would have seen it. Because one of the issues with stuff coming straight to streaming, or, you know, playing at film festivals and stuff, is why they get certain buzz. A lot of times the stuff isn't widely seen in theaters. It's kind of forgot about. We see that a lot of times in movies that come straight to streaming services, whether it be like a Netflix or an Amazon or stuff. They're cool for a few days and then they disappear. And this is a movie that I don't want to disappear, because I think it's a really cool movie, and I feel like a lot of people, if you're a psychological horror fan or just a horror fan in general, you can really benefit from seeing this movie. This is a great movie, and you're going to have a great time with this movie. As it sits right now, this movie, as far as I looked, I didn't see it available on any streaming services as far as like a subscription base goes, but I mean, it is available to rent on like Amazon, Microsoft Store, Vudu, and stuff like that for only $4 as far as the HD version goes. And I have to say, I definitely recommend spending that $4. But if you don't want to spend $4, as soon as this movie hits a subscription streaming service, definitely check it out. You don't want to miss it.
People think that I create horror. Horror is already out there in all of us.